All right, Coach, welcome. Afternoon. How's it going, man?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good. Nice hat. I like the that's I'm a big fan of that one, but I did you see the new one that they're coming out with?
Yeah, the duo one.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that one. That one is that's got to be like that could be the new game day hat. I haven't decided yet.
It might be. I know this is gonna be the go-to. I actually end up getting two. I got this one, the black camo, but then our colors are navy,
Yeah.
and so I got the navy and white one as well.
You got to do that. Got to go for that one. They do such a good job over. No, shameless plug for the company, but they do such a really good job over there at Dome Hats. So,
Oh,
uh,
absolutely. They sent me like a really nice note in there too. Like I wasn't expecting all. I was like,
yeah,
oh wow, like
yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, they do good work. They do good work. Well, let's get started, man. First question I got to ask you that I ask everybody. Talk to me about how the offensive line played a role in some of the better teams that you've been a part of.
Better teams have been a part of the offensive line is like a huge part. I mean, the 2023 was year one for me coaching at Staples High School. And that was like my really like first like full season coaching. We
Yeah,
had articles written about us, and that's like a huge rarity that like the O lines even acknowledge, let alone a full article written about us.
sure.
So like that was awesome, and just like on both sides of the ball, not just the offensive line but the defensive line too. Like they're the first guys to make contact, and they're setting that tone all the way through. So if your offensive line's weak and they're not able to set the tone, it's a trickle down effect throughout the entire team. Where like the tone needs to get set somewhere else now, and someone needs to find it, and the opportunities thin down because not every position makes contact every single play.
Right.
So if like first play, like you're calling a trap and your guard comes down and lays an end out, boys are gonna get fired up a little bit and they're gonna be
Yeah,
going, they're gonna be juiced up.
it's a tone center, right?
Absolutely. I love like first play, we're gonna call power, we're gonna call trap, and we're just gonna go hit somebody as hard as we possibly can. Let's just
Yeah,
move the ball.
yeah. No, I think that's great. It's um, I'm sure your offensive coordinator understands that too, and it's like, hey, this is and I've done it. I don't know if you've been able to call plays yet at at the JV or varsity level, but it's fun to kind of get those plays ready to go. Like, hey, this one might be just a regular play, but this one, like maybe play two, that one's gonna be the rock their socks off play and see if if it works, it's gonna set the tone for the rest of the game. So those those sometimes it's not even a big play, like right? Sometimes it's like a gain of five, but it sets the tone for everything else.
Sometimes it's not even a gain of five, it could be a gain of three, but like guy gets held up at the line of scrimmage, all of a sudden everybody's pushing, you get that extra 2 yards. It's like, okay, we're here to play. Like
Yeah,
it might have been 3 yards, but we're gonna keep doing that, so watch out.
right. No, it's huge. Talked about, you said your first year, obviously, first full year in 2023, and you guys won a state title.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that whole season. I'm always infatuated, not infatuated, but I'm always curious about how state title seasons go. I've never been a part of one. Um, I've been a part of some really good seasons before, obviously, but never gotten to win a state championship. So I'm always curious to see how how it is for coaches and how it was for the team and how it was for you being kind of year one. Just talk me through the whole year of 2023.
It was crazy. So I got in late. Well, I started late, I guess you could say. I started at basically the beginning of camp.
Okay.
Like I never saw the offense. I didn't know anything. I knew we ran zone. I knew we ran power. I knew we ran counter.
Yeah.
Did not know anything else. So I was like, okay, like so they first practice I was there, I just kind of observed. Then they talked to me, offered me the job.
Yeah.
Next day, I'm introduced as the offensive line coach. I'm just kind of I remember that first practice. I came home, my fiance, now my wife, is sitting at the counter, and I walked in. I said, "I think we're gonna be good." And she's like, "What makes you say that?" I said, "I've been around a lot of bad."
Yeah.
You can tell when there's good. Like I went 0-10 my senior year in high school,
Yeah.
I was not that successful playing in college either. So like when you see something special, you know it. So as like we lose game one, and we're a pick six and a punt return away from winning that one.
Right.
That's how close that ends up being. The narrative from the media was like, oh, they got beat down by, I'm not going to mention school names because I don't want people to get offensive. It's like, oh,
Sure.
we got beat down by so and so. And it's like, okay, like, can you stop saying it? Like, did you watch the game?
Right.
It was literally a pick. We're at the 10 and a pick six just happened. Like, we would have scored and won. Like, we're a play away.
Right.
Um, so we start really rolling. And we had one game, I'll mention it now. Wilton High School. It was in the rain, in the pouring rain, and I remember like it was just one of those nobody could really get an edgewise get
Yeah.
going, and we end up just like we coaches have a one of the coaches has a saying, a lot of games can be won with heart and balls.
Hmm.
And that's all sometimes it takes. You could be the most scheme, but if you don't have heart and balls, you're not going to get anywhere with it.
Right. Right.
And that was one of those games where it was just pure heart and balls, and we just outwilled them to the win. And then Thanksgiving comes, and I think it was like 35-24. I don't know about anywhere else. Connecticut, we still play Thanksgiving Day games that matter.
Okay.
I know, like my buddy coaches in Mass, they shut down the playoffs for a week, still play their Thanksgiving Day games, and then go back to the
Oh,
playoffs.
wow. That's interesting. I've never heard of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then New York, I think they're done by Thanksgiving or around there.
Yeah.
And
Everywhere I coach in Wisconsin now, it's the week prior to Thanksgiving. When I coached in Illinois, it's the Friday, Saturday after Thanksgiving. Um, Tennessee, I can't remember. I think it's the weekend after, and then like North Carolina. When I was in North Carolina, it's like the third or fourth round of the playoffs. So you don't play on Thanksgiving Day, but like you're playing that week, and nothing shuts down or anything.
yeah, so Connecticut, Thanksgiving Eve, Thanksgiving Day, depending on however your schedule falls, that's your last regular season game.
Okay.
So we won that like 35-24. Bills a 35-24 were like you look back and you're like, oh, we don't really have like we're not there's no like catch up to be played here. We have
Sure.
it pretty well handled. Um and now first round of the playoffs is a freezing cold game. Wind gusts, like everything possible. The team that knocked us out of the playoffs the year before I started, by one
Mm,
point, they beat us. So the mantra throughout the entire year was find the point.
sure.
So we go into that game, win by 1 point or 2 points in the freezing cold. It was just one of those games. There's a lot around it internally. Photo. There's the photo of like the score. Standard scoreboard photo. Not like
Sure.
someone step on digsing it, but like a natural reaction photo.
Right.
Um, so that there's a lot around like all that big ordeal, and it's a almost in town rival. So Fairfield, there's Fairfield County in Connecticut. We're in that Fairfield County league. Fairfield Prep plays in a different league.
Okay.
So it's still relatively close and it's still a rivalry, even though
Yeah.
we see them a lot.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so then that was our first round. The semifinal was a pouring rain game. Ironically, we went up to them earlier in the year as our like conference crossover game. They came down to us then that was a close one. That was a 7 point game, 10 point game. They came down to us. We beat them 45-0 in the pouring rain. We're a different team. Like we kept growing as the year went on,
Yeah.
and I knew it too. I said to the kids, I was like, round two. I said we're a lot different than we were. I think week 3 we played them. We're a lot different than we were week 3. We're a lot bigger and nastier than they are. So let's just go and impose our will on them.
Yeah.
And we did on both sides of the ball. We absolutely dominated.
Yeah.
So then going into the championship, um, is West Haven a replay of the team, even though I said I wasn't going to name them. I don't know why I did that. So we replay West Haven.
Yeah.
Close game. Now, as an O-line coach, I'm sure you know, like I'm always behind the play. I'm always like, they're on the 10, I'm on the 50 watching the entire play.
Right.
They score. and they go for two. I look up at the clock, and my first thought is a minute 45 left. Okay, we got time. But they went for two for the game, and I have a blind spot. So he runs the number one receiver runs an out, and I see him catch the ball. I immediately turn. I'm like, okay, that's in because it went into a blind spot. All of a sudden, the place erupts
Yeah.
like the half-inch line this tackle's made.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my. I went from literally worst to first. I couldn't believe it. It
Right.
was just crazy. There's a really funny video of me like, and my wife caught it. She was in the stands. I was running just towards one of my linemen. I like jumped into his arms. He's holding me up. It was hilarious. One of my favorite videos. But it was just, you knew something special was going as the year went on and on and on.
Yeah.
And like the special group of kids that I had, 4 seniors, one junior,
Wow.
and a kid got kicked out of his starting spot, another senior, end up being an extra lineman we put in instead of a tight end in our packages. Like we were true, like we're gonna run down your throat. Like here he is, he's in there. You know what's gonna happen. Good luck and go stop it.
Yeah.
And it takes a
Yeah.
special group where that kid could have been like, yeah, my senior year, you want to move me? I'm out.
Right.
But like that's just what that team was. We're like they're brothers on and off the field. It wasn't just like, oh, we're really good at football. Let's be brothers here. Like they're
Yeah.
brothers off the field. They still do everything in the summer together. They're always hanging out. Like it was a special group like that with like full true bonding.
Yeah. Did you because I know I've been in situations like that before. Did you as a coach coming in late, were you almost like hands off a little bit and like not messing anything anything up? Like, okay, they're pretty good. Like I'm just gonna give them tidbits and like basic things and not try to rock the apple cart too much, or were you kind of were they open to you being like letting you coach them?
It was definitely a mix of both because I'm a big proponent. Like if you're not doing something right but it's working, I'm not going to correct it until it becomes a problem.
Yeah, okay. I like that.
and and that's where I was just like, I told him, I said, I'm gonna give and to the tidbit thing. I gave a lot of tidbits throughout the year. It wasn't a lot of full like, hey, we got to do this in our polls or something like that. Because
Sure.
like, still getting home and like you can kind of get away with it because a lot of those kids had good form too. Because 4 of the starting 5 played rugby.
Okay. So they were
So
super athletic and knew
yeah,
angles and leverage and stuff.
like my starting center, Troy, he was like he'll call a buck 85. I'm gonna say like a buck 75 starting center.
Yeah.
And he was a smart kid. He was able to out leverage. The 2 guards played rugby. They're just nasty dudes.
Yeah.
And our right tackle was a junior, plays rugby as well. He was just a really good like overall big guy athlete. And our left tackle is now at BC. He's like 290. He was
Yeah.
just a big boy that knew how to push.
Yeah. So he was the freak show of of the group.
And they're all freak shows in their own different way because like
Sure.
like I said with Troy, like if I saw him pulling up, even though I was light when I played, I was like 215 when I played. If I saw a center of his size come up, I'm like, oh, I have a good day coming up. No
Yeah.
guy ever had a good day coming up going against him because he was just out leveraged and out positioned everybody.
Right. Yeah. Just
So
knew the game. Yeah.
yeah, so I kind of just let everybody like do their thing and just gave the little things I knew along the way.
Sure.
This year it was a lot more of like, hey, we got to do this better. Hey, we got to do this better.
Right. Well, it's your second year too. Like they know you a little bit more, and
Yeah,
you're there's that comfort level where you can how far you can, not in a negative way, but how far you can push them, and without having any major issues. So yeah, that's
exactly.
that's good.
And plus, like I said, coming in late, I barely knew the offense. I can't sit there.
Right.
Like there are times I'm watching film, I'm like, is that the right thing it's supposed to be done? I couldn't tell you. There were times I would walk in, go to our head coach. I'd be like, hey, Adam, like, is this what they're supposed to be doing on this? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, good. Let me take that off the film review playlist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, no, it was really fun. I learned a lot. They taught me a ton. Like
Sure.
they were really good at football. They taught me a ton. So
I think there's a lot that's a valid point too. Like there's a lot of coaches that don't listen to the kids. Like even at the high school level, like I've always been a proponent of like when they come off the field, I want to know what they see. I want to know what they like. I want to know what what they think is working, isn't working, all of that stuff. Because like you said, they're smart kids. Like, yeah, sure, they're 14, 15, 16, all the way up, but they still are playing the game. They're the ones out there. I think there's a lot of coaches that don't lean on the kids they coach. They don't ask them questions, and I think it's important they let them be involved in what's going on because a lot of times it's going to work. Like they're out there. You're not out there as a coach.
Exactly. They know who's easy to push.
Right.
They have the hands on the guy. And that's one of the things I always do, and I always did it. Even like my little stints of coaching. Once I got hurt in college, I'd go down to my high school and like coach here and there. But the first thing I always do is come off, talk to the center
Yeah.
and whoever I can, based off of if they're out on the D line or not.
Right.
And if they rotate off, now as soon as they're off, once the defensive line coach is done talking to them, I'm like, hey, what are you seeing out there? Is everything all right?
Yeah.
Give corrections if we see something on film. But I'm always talking to the guys because, like we said, they're the ones that put
Yeah.
hands on and doing the blocks. They know who's moving and what's working.
Right. That's the way I am too. It was hard this last year because our at one point for I don't know for probably like a good 4 or 5 game stretch, everyone but our center was a very, very important member on defense and
Yeah.
started and played a lot. So, like our center, who it was his first year playing football, or not playing football, excuse me, playing offensive line, he had played running back prior, but he got hurt. And so we'd moved him, but he'd come off the field and I'd talk to him for like 5, 10 seconds. And then it would be like, all right, I can't do anything else because I don't know what the hell's going on because no one else is out here. So that's frustrating, but you gotta, we as coaches, we adapt, we figure it out, like we make it work. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
I had a big benefit this year. My starting center used to play quarterback.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was really nice to sit there and be like, Brady, what are you seeing? Coach, it's going like this, so we should do this and this and this. And it's like, yeah, man, I like having you out
Yeah,
there.
right. That's impressive. That's like Lane Johnson right there. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Was it was it an injury thing or was it just he got bigger and
So
naturally?
he had like the transition. So he was a quarterback and then he like was just hanging out with us because my first year he was a tight end defensive end.
Okay.
So he kind of hung out with us, and one day during one-on-ones, we needed a guy to fill in, and he hopped in and stonewalled the guy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shoot. And so I kind of brought it up. I'm like, hey, like he did this. I don't know if we're gonna play him much at tight end. Can I take him? And they're like, yeah, take him now if you want him. Because
Right.
we actually went through like a bad injury drought where like one of our starting tight end defensive ends, not Brady, but another one, he was emergency tackle. I had to show him how to pass that and like
Yeah.
talk him through the slides that were running real quick, just that way he knew because he was the worst case scenario guy at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was that week where it was like, all right, sweet, like you're gonna have him, and he just kept coming and coming, and it was funny, and I told this story during the our banquet. Brady walked up to me day one of the O line after practice, and he goes, "You know, last time I had to play O line, I quit."
Like, thanks for the reminder, buddy.
And I was like, yeah, it's sled day. Go hit the sled, Brady. We'll worry about this later.
Yeah.
And so after like we talked, I was like, you're gonna be important, man. Just trust me here. This is
Yeah.
all getting you ready. And turns out to be starting center was all conference.
Yeah,
Kind of
that's
guy.
awesome. That's when as soon as you said it, as soon as we started talking about it, I was reminded I had a kid that did the same thing. Kind of as a freshman, played quarterback. I think more so out of necessity to find somebody to do it. Didn't really like never. I rarely threw the ball. Um, and then as a sophomore, I think I convinced him to go back to playing tackle. Played like left tackle on JV, and then ended up being a 2 year starter at guard and inside linebacker as a
Love
junior
that.
and senior. So it happens more than I realize, I guess. But I just sometimes forget. Sometimes kind of push those memories aside because we like We want them to be offensive linemen through and through. We don't want to think they're quarterbacks still or anything like that.
Yeah, I would love to get a true O lineman in, but a lot of times I have conversions. Like one of my
No.
guards this year, he was a converted running back. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like what's up, man? He's like 190 pounds.
I mean, we're the island of misfit toys. It's always like if a kid's not fast enough or can't do something, it always gets sent to us, and we've got to more often than not we figure it out, but we've got to be the ones that kind of find the round hole for the round peg. We got to make it work instead of having them sit and collect dust in the other spots. So
Exactly. It was
that's what
funny.
we do.
Even that was a depth chart thing where it was just like, hey, like you're not gonna get much PT. Like let's just send you over the O line. Like they need guys. Like
Yeah.
who knows if you're gonna really get much play time. And he just never left.
Yeah.
he went out
He's
the left guard, and he went out the left guard because it was his first time playing O line. I put him next to our left tackle, who was a 3-year starter. I was like, okay, so that way if he doesn't know anything, Eddie can tell him what he's doing.
right.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, and then you're good.
And he just never left that spot.
Yeah. No, it's and depending on what the offense is too, like you need athletic guys. You need guys that can move. You need guys that can pull. You need guys that can do all sorts of things. I mean, I think I talked about this before. There was a school here in Illinois where they were like perennial all state champions, like constantly running wing T offense, and like for like 3 or 4 years, their natural progression was their best lineman as a junior would be their starting fullback as a senior.
Must be nice.
Yeah, right. And then because he was such a good athlete, but they had such a good fullback, well, let's put our best 11 on the field, and he was one of the best 11 at like guard or whatever. And so they would always have like this guy who would have like his senior year would rush for like 1,500 yards, and he played offensive line the year before or something because it was just a wing T fullback offense. He'd just run forward for 85 yards, whatever. So um, it's funny how we're still athletes. We're just big athletes, right? We're big skill.
I wish I was able to get that progression. We ran wing T my senior year.
Yeah. And
I'm
then
I have a love hate with the wing T.
it's I do as well. I just commented about it today. There's some fun stuff in it, obviously. I ran it a long time ago as a freshman in college at Augustana in Illinois, who are like the Augie Wing T is like a legendary offense. So I didn't like my freshman year of college, so I hated the offense, and so I had like a big hatred for it. But there are some fun things in it, man. It can be a really good offense if you know what you're doing.
As a lineman, I just hate the running aspect of it. There's a lot of running in the wing T.
There is.
Like the rocket toss, forget about that. My coach always ran rocket toss to my side too. So I'm the one that's sprinting out to the hash while I'm pulling.
Right.
I hated that.
Yeah. Yeah. What you talked about, played college football, played high school football, obviously, played college football a little bit. Did you know when you were in college that you wanted to get into coaching, or was it that you mentioned you got injured? Was it because of the injury that you kind of did it, or did you have it in the back of your mind to do it before that?
When my first shoulder went, I kind of just hung out. I was like, sweet, I'll come back next year. Then my second shoulder went. Doctor was like, you can play, but I'm going to give you a punch card for every visit because
Right.
you're just going to come see me every year for one of them.
Right.
I was like, sweet. So I went to my coach at the time. I was like, hey, like this year I'm cool. Like I filmed and stuff like that. I was helping out. I was like, I'm cool helping out, but like I would like to get into like student coaching for next season. Like I don't
Sure.
want to throw a wrench in the middle of your plan, but like I do want to coach. And he's like, absolutely. Like we'll figure it out at the end of the year. Got fired with 2 games left.
Lovely.
So that kind of like threw off like my timeline a little bit of
Right.
coaching, but it always was in the back of my mind. My dad coached from when he was, I want to say like 18 to 20. He coached a little league all-star team
Yeah.
because no one in town could figure out who should be the coach. And my dad just happened to be in the meeting and someone threw his name out and everyone's like, yeah, that works because no one else is going to get a pick. So my dad coached me forever. He coached track. He actually was a national champion in his flight in hurdles. He coached the kid, so
Yeah.
he has a national championship. Doesn't have a state championship though. I like to flex that on him. He got runner up. I'm the state champion in the family.
But
Uh,
he's got national champions. That
yeah,
depends on who you're
that's pretty
talking to,
sweet.
right?
Like
Yeah.
he kind of skipped the levels, but yeah, he does have a national champion. So that's really cool. But yeah, coaching's always been, and like with going back to the state title is really special because like my dad's been with me through everything. 0-10 in football my senior
Right.
year. 13, 14 kids on the team. Like my
Oh,
dad somehow ended up getting on the field after like it was all said and done. It was really special to like have that moment with him.
yeah. Where's where do they do state championships in Connecticut?
So it splits up. So Rentschler Field where UConn plays,
Okay.
they'll have it there. Um, and I do feel bad for like the teams that do have to play there because it's like it's a college stadium and it's like so empty.
Yeah.
Because Connecticut, it's not like the Texas Championship or like
Yeah.
um, Jerry World's filled to the brim for the 6A and like they're almost sold out, or at
Right.
least the lower bowls filled, and sometimes the upper bowls got people in it.
Right.
And then the other site's Southern Connecticut, which is
Oh yeah. Okay.
or not Southern, Central Connecticut.
Central Connecticut. Okay.
Yeah. So
So
that's
but still at like two, they tried to play it at like a college
yeah,
location.
yeah, and Central, given the name, is actually pretty central in the state. It's a pretty even trip for almost every school, unless like you're like in that bubble.
Right. Right.
So that's where the two sites are. It
Okay.
rotates every year too. Like whatever class you are goes here or there. So
Oh, okay. Nice.
it's not like one like. 'Cause I don't know how you guys do it, but we're like we have L, which is like extra, or I'm sorry, we have double L, which is extra large, and downward and so forth. So like, not every double L championship is going to be played at Central, and not every like M championship is going to be played. Yeah,
Okay.
so they try and rotate it through.
Gotcha. Yeah, we've in Wisconsin it's D1 down to D7 and then there's an 8A or an 8-man division I think and they're all played at Camp Randall, which is where
That's all.
Wisconsin plays. Yeah.
I always wanted to watch 8-man football.
It's
I think
pretty it's big. It's big here. It's starting to be so I used to coach in Illinois and Iowa too. It's been big in Iowa. It's starting to catch on in Illinois as well. It's like because it's it's kind of like what you talked about. Like you had, a small team your senior year. There were so many teams in Illinois that were just canceling the season
yeah,
instead of playing. And so and then it took was like one or two teams started it. And I mean there's 30 or 40 teams in maybe and I could be way off. I could be shooting that number up real high, but it's catching on pretty good. Um in the state, and I can't remember. They don't. So in Illinois, the state championship games were played at U of I. Um, they were played at Northern Illinois for a little bit, and then they were played in at Illinois State for a little bit. I don't know what the scenario is now, but the 8-man games were not there. They were at like a separate location. I can't remember for the life of me where it is, but I don't know. They're well attended, I think. It's still probably the same problem as in Connecticut. It's a really really big stadium, and you just don't have a lot of people in there. There's
yeah,
not,
you're not, and they're played on the same day too.
yeah,
So that just really like spreads everything so thin where it's like, okay, they did something that really improved the tennis. This year they played 2 games or 1 game on Friday.
okay,
So that was really cool. And I think that like from watching it, it seemed like the attendance seemed a little bit higher. So I'm hoping they do something because the kids deserve it. You make it that far, you should have as many people available to come watch
absolutely,
the game as possible.
yeah, no, absolutely. It's big. It's an important day for them. It's an important day for the programs, and it should be promoted well and well attended as much as you can. But yeah, it's always interesting those state championship games because it's like I'm trying to think if there are any states where they like I'm sure there are, I just don't know them where like they're played at like the home team, like the home like the higher seed gets the home game. I'm sure there's some states that's like that. I just don't know any off the top of my
I'd be
head.
curious to see how like that stuff does work.
Yeah, yeah,
That'd be pretty cool to see because that'd actually be really interesting. Like go to like a championship game with a home field advantage. That'd be
with a
pretty
home
sweet.
right. I well here in Wisconsin they do uh so it's levels, so like level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 4, if you get to level 4, they play neutral site. So it's so once you get past the third round, the fourth round it's neutral site, and then fifth round is obviously a state championship game. But that's always pretty cool going to kind of get to go to a new state, a new place, and get to host the game and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's always interesting to kind of look through that
Yeah, we're
process.
neutral site only for the championship.
Only for yeah,
If you're the high seed, you get the home field advantage for the quarterfinal and the semifinal.
yeah. That's everywhere else I've been. It's been the same way. It's if you're home field, you get everything up until a state championship game. But um, well, coach, last question I got for you. If you could put together a Mount Rushmore of offensive linemen from guys you coached, guys you played with maybe, or just guys that you're a fan of, who's going on that 5-man offensive line rotate Mount Rushmore?
So after listening to last week's episode, I texted my buddy this question, and it was a really good conversation.
Yeah.
I want to put the guys that like I think are gonna be in that conversation soon first, and then
Okay.
I'll do like my actual because there are guys that like I love watching play
Yeah.
that I just don't think have enough time yet and to be in that conversation. So like
Yeah.
Tristan Wirfs is one of those guys.
Yeah.
I love watching him play. I went to a Bucks game this year. I basically watched him every time the Bucks were on offense, and it was awesome to watch him play. Landon Dickerson's in there too for me for the Eagles.
Yeah.
I've been a Landon fan for a while though, because my favorite college is to watch play is Alabama. So
Okay.
I got to watch him for 2 years, and he's one of my favorite guys to watch. I think he's going to be really up there.
He's a total goofball too, which it fits right in as an offensive lineman.
Oh, he is like the epitome of an offensive lineman. He's just
Yes.
like even on the field. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Like he like if the defense jumps, he'll like high step and start pointing that way.
Yeah.
Like, he is like the ultimate like troll, but like he blocks somebody, he means business.
Yeah.
And obviously like Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly are on there too as like guys that are slowly like working on.
Yeah.
I love watching them. So tackle wise, obviously Joe Thomas.
Yep.
That's without a question. Working in just retired, best one of the best careers ever, Zach Martin.
Yeah, I just saw on your page too the tweet you had about, which is mind-boggling to me, nine all pros and only 7 holding penalties. Like
That
that's
is insanity.
yeah. Joe Thomas was like that too. He was not far off from that. But that just shows like that's the technician side of them. Like they're such technical players, like they know where to put their hands, like they know how to move their feet, they know all of that stuff. But yeah, he's definite first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he if he's not, there's a big problem that needs to be looked into in the
Yeah.
NFL Hall of Fame. Center, I'm torn between two because I'm a Giants fan.
Okay.
So Sean O'Hare is on my like probably number two
Okay.
center because I love Sean O'Hare. I think he was the backbone of some really good and bad
Yes.
Giants offensive lines
Yes.
that would just push guys around, especially the '07 team. Like he was the center on that, and that was a really good offensive line.
Yeah. He doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think, because he was a really good offensive lineman.
No, he doesn't get the love because that was a really good offensive line. David Deal was on that.
Yeah.
Chris Snee was on that. Oh, I'm trying to think of the other two. It's gonna come to me.
Yeah, I can't I'm drawing a blank too now.
That was a really good offensive line as a whole. They're just big,
Yes.
nasty, like mess around and find out kind of guys.
Yes, agreed.
At the other guard, Larry Allen.
Yeah.
I never saw Larry Allen play, but like the man bench presses 225 like 45 times.
Yeah. He was a freak show.
He's an absolute tank.
Yeah.
And at the other tackle, I've had some really like, is it Munoz? Just based off of it, is it Pace, Ogden? Like, there's so many guys that like could be put in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Ogden just because I actually saw a little bit of Ogden.
Okay.
But like just knowing how good Munoz was too,
Yeah.
he's got to be like at least talked about in that conversation.
Oh yeah. It's there's a lot like there's a lot there's not many more. Like the four that you mentioned, like Joe Thomas, Ogden, Pace, Munoz, like there's not too many more that you can talk about as far as like NFL.
Yeah.
Like that's for their own for just for tackles, that's kind of their own Mount Rushmore right there of guys that played. There aren't too many more that are that elite.
No, Lane Johnson's probably going to be up there
That
once his
I was
career's
just about
over.
to say Lane's close to being on that list. Yeah.
He's really good. And what's his face from the Chiefs that got him bumped the tackle? I felt bad for him.
Oh, uh oh, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember. I can't remember.
I'm sure there's some guy that's yelling at his phone right now when he listens to this, and is
Oh,
like,
they're 100%.
and like, how do you not know that he's an All-Pro guard? I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's
Yeah,
killing me.
that's all right. I am too. I'm drawing a blank too.
I'm also gonna throw fullback love in there, just because
Okay.
like fullback's just basically linemen that get to touch the football
Yeah.
on a rare occasion. And I tweeted it back to you. The Giants had like really good no-name fullbacks for a while. My guy Henry Hynoski was like one
Yeah.
of my favorite like fullbacks of all time.
I remember Henry Hanoski. Yeah, of course.
Just first of all, great name. If you're a fullback, you need to have a really good name is like step one.
Yeah.
And he had that great nickname, the Hinoceros.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Like
pretty
that
good.
was his touchdown celebration. He put his hand up and start like kicking in the ground and make horns.
Oh man, that's pretty good right there. I like that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna throw a tight end there too, just because I feel like tight end run blocking doesn't get talked about enough because most of them catch passes now, and it hurts me as a Giants fan to say that. But Jason Witten used to be able to block a man like nobody else.
Yeah. He I stirred up some controversy a few weeks ago when I said that I didn't think Kelsey was elite. And not I shouldn't say elite. I didn't think he was one of the top 5 yet. Um Jason Witten does not get talked about enough. He would go he could run routes, he could catch passes, and he would go block. That's the negative for Kelsey is that he doesn't block. Like
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Kittle blocks really well, but he went to
yeah,
Iowa. You can't be a tight end in
right.
Iowa if you can't block.
Exactly.
It's just
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah, Witten was yeah, he was pretty good. He was but he was also like he played for so long.
Yeah,
Uh
he was awesome. I mean,
yeah.
you need. I remember so many years as a Giants fan. Oh, third and 5, they need this first down. Well, the ball's going to Jason Witten.
Right.
He's gonna go out, sit in the middle of the field at the first down marker. He's gonna catch the ball and get like 2-3 yards after.
Right. He's going to
That's
get yeah, it's 3rd and 5. He's going to get 6. Like it's
exactly.
inevitable.
Exactly. But I agree with you with the Kelsey thing though. Like I'm not I'm not taking away what he's done. He's
No, no,
very
you can't. But he's not better than Gronk. He's not better
well,
than Tony Gonzalez. I
no,
don't
Tony
think
Gonzalez is another one that could block like no tomorrow too.
right. I put him below probably Witten, and I put him below Antonio Gates. Um,
Yeah.
and then that's not counting like John Mackey and Dave Casper and like all those guys, Kellen Winslow, all those guys who played way long ago before, you
Mark
know,
Bavaro.
yeah, exactly. Rambo was a such a dude. Like
Yeah, he was
so
awesome.
so it again it stirred up some controversy, but like that's the beauty part of the world we live in. Like I am allowed my opinion and I'm entitled to it. So I can say what I want, and if you don't like it, that's okay.
And you just don't see tackles that think they should go in and play guard until they actually play in the NFL as a tackle.
Right.
Like like right now, Evan Neal's a really good case study of a guy that should be considered moving inside.
There are
The
look,
Giants are gonna watch him every week.
there are guys that should do it. My whole point with that was every year it's like the best offensive line prospect. They're always like, oh, well, he's going to get drafted. They're going to draft him and kick him into guard. And it's like, why?
Yeah,
Why?
he was the best because it was the kid you're talking about from
The
LSU, the tackle.
yeah, Will Campbell. Like, why? Why don't
He's
why?
the best tackle in college
Right,
football.
right. Why are they going to take him and try to do this? And then it's like on the flip side, well, why don't they like? So we're talking about the Chicago Bears, obviously, who've had
Mm-hmm.
offensive line issues for my entire lifetime. But like, well, why not take another guy? Why not take Braxton Jones, who is their current left tackle, and kick him into left guard? Like, why does it always have to be like? So it's just, I don't know. There's such a we live in such a renaissance of the offensive line world now, but there are still so many. Um, I'm trying to think of a polite word. Stupid people. There's so many dummies that don't know what they're talking about in regards to offensive line. I am by no means saying that I do know a lot, but I know at least a little bit more than some of these jamokes who are commenting. So, whatever. It is what it is.
It's one of those things that just I always love, where it's like, you know, these guys, and like I said to you, these guys never put on pads.
No,
They've never schemed up. They've never coached on. They've never been on the sideline of a football game.
right,
All of a sudden, they're draft experts, get
right.
paid a ton of money to be that draft expert. Like, how do I sign up and do that job? I'd love to be a draft expert and do a mock draft every other day.
Yeah, right. I just
Like,
found I got a PFF membership and I just realized you can do mock drafts. Like I've seen and I was like I don't
that's my
so I
favorite
was
thing to do.
yeah, I've been doing it like nonstop and just it's ridiculous, but
When it
uh
was free, I used to be able. I was ripping 7 round mock drafts like every other day. Like, that was my addiction during COVID. It
yeah,
was like just ripping 7 round mock drafts.
and just loving every second of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna get you out of here. I appreciate you coming on. Do me a favor before you leave. Drop your Twitter handle for the listeners and let them know where they can find you if they want to talk some football.
Yeah, it's really simple. At Coach Festa. Festa is Festa, and that's on Twitter, because I don't call it X because I just don't think it sounds right. So I'm gonna keep ripping that it's Twitter. Yeah, my DMs are open. If anyone wants to talk ball, philosophy, anything, the difference of weather in Connecticut and California, like, I'm cool with it. Like, I work in the golf world. It's my off season still, so like, I'm
Nice.
cool looking at my phone for a few minutes extra during the day.
There you go, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. This was awesome. Wish you the best of luck, dude, and looking forward to talking with you a little bit more down the road.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me. Can't wait to listen back and hear everything.
All right, man. Take care. We'll talk soon.
You too.